Hello and welcome to another video of Cooking with San. Thank you very much, Kate, for coming up with that name. Today we're going to be making pancakes, too thick to be a crepe and too thin to be a pancake. So the recipe somewhat comes from my, didn't use any eggs, that's good. More with Less cookbook that we talked about before. And so I found a recipe that kind of reminded me of the apple pancakes that my Oma used to make for me when I was little and would visit. And I've changed it around a bit and we're really close to exactly what she used to do. So I'm going to make these with you. We're going to use 4 eggs. We'll crack them into a bowl. I'm putting them into a separate metal bowl, and then we have the glass bowl for the dry ingredients after. I generally do this in the stand mixer because Again, I'm fortunate enough to have one, and mine has 2 bowls. For those of you who don't have one, I figured I would do this by hand to show you that it's also very easy by hand. So we have our 4 eggs. I'm going to whisk them with my handy dandy whisk. And like everything with cooking, you'll get different opinions. Some people say make sure those eggs are completely broken down, and other people say don't break them down too much. So you can't mess it up. And to that we're going to add 2 cups of milk. Whatever milk you happen to have in your house is the right milk to use for this. Well, maybe not buttermilk, but I'm not too sure. Alright, so we've got eggs and milk mixed. I'm going to move this out of the way for a moment. Our dry ingredients, we need 2 cups of flour. I'm going to use the smaller, no, I have one in there. I'm going to use my scooper to put the flour into my measuring cup because we don't want to push the flour down. We want to make sure our measurements are pretty close to precisely accurate. And 2. So if you want to make a little bit more, you can add an extra cup of flour and maybe an extra egg or 2. You could do this with 2 eggs. That's what the recipe in the book calls for. I like the texture that comes with using the 4th egg. Of half a teaspoon of salt. If you don't put salt in or put enough salt in, they have a more rubbery texture, which is not good. I often will take a bite of the first one, although the kids always get the first one, just to see what the texture is like, and then sometimes I need to add more salt. So we've got flour. So this is our add-ons, some nutmeg. We have a fresh, it's quite a bit gone, but I'll just show you the remains of the nutmeg. You can buy them at many health food stores, possibly in your grocery store, depending on where you shop. And I'm just going to grind that because it's nice and fresh that way. I don't have measurements for how much of this stuff to put in. This is mace. Honestly, not too sure what the mace does, except that another pancake recipe that I really liked called for mace, cinnamon, and nutmeg. So I just add them all now. And then we have cinnamon. We really like cinnamon. I'm putting in half a teaspoon, mostly because that's the measuring spoon that was up when I grabbed them. I'm going to turn the pan on to melt some butter that's going to go into this mixture also. Okay, now we've got this, mix those dry ingredients, get this salt out of the way. I should find a better spot to hide all my dirty stuff there. Okay. That is going in, and we're just going to give it a whisk. And it doesn't take too long to put all of this together. I used to love waking up at Oma and Opa's house and could smell the pancakes being cooked for me, ready to go eat them. I just want to give that a good whisk. Now this is a good arm exercise if you haven't been getting outside much or very physical. Good reason to not use a stand mixer. If you have a stand mixer, you can use that or egg beaters. Throw this all in a blender if you have one that it would fit in. Do it by hand. Give the kids a whisk and a towel. Okay, So that is good. And now I tested to see if I like the consistency. I want it a little bit thinner than that, but we still have apples to put in and the butter. So I'm going to leave it like that. Here is our butter. Not a lot, just a little bit adds maybe 2 tablespoons as I put in there. Okay. And I'm going to leave that pan on because generally the first pancake never turns out. And that tends to be because the pan isn't hot enough. And as you saw, we're using cast iron pan for this because that's all I use here. So it does take a while for it to heat through evenly. So I'm just going to leave it on a lower heat with some, I'm going to ask somebody if they can get me some olive oil, I think. Yes, I am, and they are going to get me some olive oil. So that is very nice of them. Thank you. Okay, so now we're going to grate the apples. I've already washed them. I grate them. I used to cut them and then grate the pieces, but then I realized that that was a lot more work, and I don't like more work. So now I just grate them. They don't need to be peeled. That one is really juicy. If you get big chunks of peel, you can just take that off. I'm going to grate 2 apples and then come back to show you that result. Okay, so I have put one of the apples in. I'm about to do the other one. I just grated them, skin and all, right to the core. At least not whatnot. The apple peel does not seem to affect the pancakes at all, and there's a lot of good nutrients. I did, of course, wash the apples. Although we are in the time of the COVID right now, even if you're not, you never know what's been on them between pollution and pesticides and people at the store. So there we go. Now, there was a lot of juice from those. I used Granny Smith. I've never used Granny Smith up until the last time I made these. And then I took a bite and it almost brought tears to my eyes. They were so much closer to what Oma had done, and she always used Granny Smith. Never even put that together because the apples do taste different. Okay. A ladle. I'm going to scoop. I don't know if you can hear that sizzling or not. So there is our pancake starting to cook. Pan wasn't quite hot enough. There's the gas stove. Oh, I hope the stove is clean. We got some stuff going on around the edges there. Slowly starting. I will. There. I like to scrape it a little bit just to make it a little bit thinner. And I like the little frills that we then get. I don't know if you can see that. I just think that looks pretty. And as a little girl, I really liked it. We're going to wait. I'm going to wait a little bit more. You can add some fruit to these if you want to after you're done cooking them. We like to use our local maple syrup because, well, we like our local maple syrup. We're very lucky where we live. Bananas, peaches, something fresh. There is already apples, so you know that you're already getting a little bit. This one's not turning out so well. I think I'm going to make another one and then show you that one. I'm sure I can find a volunteer to eat this one. I'll be back. Okay, so we've just put the second pancake in. The first one always ruined a little bit. See how this is really crisping up at the edges? So I've also discovered that it's a secret of some butter and some oil. The oil keeps the butter from burning at such a low temperature, and the butter keeps the pancake from tasting like oil. So it's kind of a win-win. I'm going to flip that up and see. So it's cooked underneath. Flip that over. And there is our pancake. So like I said, it's thicker than a crepe for sure. Thinner than a pancake for sure. And still filled with lots and lots of yumminess. Let's just ask. Somebody had the first one. How's the pancake?
Excellent.
Yay! They said it was excellent. To be honest, I say that anytime somebody makes me breakfast, so, but I'll take it. Okay, we're just gonna wait. And they don't take too long to cook. Now when I'm cooking for the family, I normally have 2 pans on the go, and then just stand here. You cannot leave because it does happen very quickly. Let's see, that's starting to brown up a bit. Shouldn't be too much longer. And there we go. A nice, thin, soft, filling pancake. We have 4 eggs in there and 2 cups of milk with 2 cups of flour. So there's lots of protein. There's 2 apples, so we're getting some fruits to start our morning, even if we don't add anything else to it. And I highly recommend some frozen berries, just slowly heat it up on the stove. Maple syrup, of course, a raspberry syrup, whatever you like. We have our maple syrup that we like. And there is, I'm just going to pour some maple syrup. No, I'm not going to pour the maple syrup on. Okay, I got the maple syrup opened, and we're going to pour that on. And there we go. I hope you enjoy.